What if I told you that the flow of time, that constant, unstoppable river from past to future, might be a complete illusion? Well, today we are tackling one of the absolute deepest mysteries of the universe, time itself.
So let's just dive right in. The question that has kept physicists and philosophers up at night for centuries is this. Is our most fundamental intuition, the feeling that time is always moving forward, a true reflection of reality? Or is it just a really sophisticated trick that our own minds are playing on us?
You see, we're all living with two completely different clocks. There's the psychological one, right? The one in our heads that gives us this rich experience of a past we remember, a present we're living through, and a future we're heading towards. But then there's the clock that modern physics describes. And that clock suggests that time is just another dimension, like length or width, totally static, with no special now and, get this, no flow at all. To really get our heads around this, we first need to look at how 20th century physics just completely blew up our common sense idea of time. And it really all started with one person, Albert Einstein. So, Einstein's theory of special relativity came with this absolutely wild consequence. Because the speed of light is the same for everybody no matter how fast you're moving, it means that what you see happening right now on some distant planet could actually be in the past for someone zooming by you in a spaceship. And for someone else flying in the opposite direction, it could even be in their future.
And the consequence of this is, well, it's devastating for our intuition. It means that the idea of a single universal now, a present moment that everyone in the entire cosmos shares at the same time, it just doesn't exist in physics. There is no master clock ticking for the universe. Okay, so this leads us to a really mind-bending concept called the block universe. In this model, every single event, from the Big Bang to you listening to this right now, to the very end of time, it all already exists. The past, the present, and the future are all equally real, just laid out like frames on a film reel in this static, four-dimensional block of what we call space-time.
And you know what? Scientists figured out the implications of this almost immediately. Einstein's own professor, Hermann Minkowski, said it best. Space and time were no longer separate things. They were just, as he put it, shadows of a single unified reality.
Now, philosophers have been debating this stuff for ages. While some hold on to the idea that only the present is real, that's called presentism, Einstein's physics really throws its weight behind a view called eternalism. And that's just another name for the block universe, where the past, present, and future are all just as real as each other.
Okay, but if the universe is just this static block, then where on earth does our powerful, undeniable feeling of time's passage come from? Well, the answer, it seems, isn't out there in the cosmos. It's right here, inside our own heads. Neuroscientists have a theory that our brain uses a kind of biological stopwatch. Imagine a little pacemaker in your brain sending out constant ticks. Your attention acts like a gate, and then an accumulator counts how many of those ticks get through. That final number? That's your perception of how much time has passed.
And this explains so perfectly why our sense of time is so weirdly flexible. You know how time flies when you're having fun? That's because you're distracted, so fewer of those little pulses get counted. But when you're bored or even terrified, your attention is laser-focused, that gate is wide open, and your brain counts a ton of pulses, making time feel like it's stretching out forever. It's wild.
Our brain also does something else really clever. It creates what neuroscientists call the specious present. See, our conscious experience of now isn't an infinitely thin slice of time. It's actually a short window, maybe a few seconds long, that bundles the immediate past and the present together. And that's what allows us to see motion as smooth and fluid, or hear a melody instead of just a bunch of separate disconnected notes. So you can think of it like this. Our consciousness is basically acting like a simulator. It's taking all the static, unmoving frames from that block universe and stitching them together, creating the moving picture that we experience as the flow of time. It's a very real biological process, sure, but it's creating a narrative, not perceiving a fundamental truth of the cosmos. But hang on, because this story has a pretty fascinating twist. Not everybody is convinced that time is just a trick of the mind. In fact, there's a group of physicists who argue that science has made a colossal mistake.
Yeah, this is the powerful counterargument. What if our most fundamental human experience, the passage of time, is actually the real thing, and it's our physical theories that are incomplete? What if dismissing our deepest intuition isn't just a small error, but a profound misunderstanding of how the universe actually works? Physicist Lee Smolin is a huge champion of this view. He argues that not only is time real, it's the most fundamental thing there is. And he even proposes this incredibly radical idea that the laws of physics themselves aren't set in stone, but that they can actually evolve and change within time.
So, this leaves us standing at a crossroads, staring at two powerful and, frankly, totally contradictory pictures of reality.
On one side, you have the universe of being, the static, four-dimensional block that physics describes, governed by fixed, unchanging laws. And on the other side, you have our deeply human experience of becoming, this dynamic, flowing story created by our brains, a world filled with memory, change, and purpose.
So ultimately, the question isn't just about physics, it's about our place in all of this. Is our gut feeling about time's passage a window into the true nature of reality, or are we all just conscious ghosts, living out a vivid and meaningful story inside a silent, static, timeless machine? That's the paradox we're left with.